Hey everyone, I'm Ian Douglas, the author of the website techinterview.guide. I do live streams every Sunday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern about topics relevant to interview preparation for the tech industry. I occasionally record longer Q&A sessions, and I've started to break those into smaller videos to post. And there'll be information at the end of this video about how to get in contact with me if you have additional questions. Let's get to it. How is this interview... To what is this interview question related? And they're quoting, describe a problem you've discovered in your job, like how you identified it and how you handled it. Is that question related to a mistake that I did in my work, or to a problem related to the company operation? And so the question, they're asking a question about a question. They may have heard an interview question that says, describe a problem you discovered in your job, how you identified it and how you handled it. And then they're saying, based on that question, are they asking me to explain like a mistake that I made or just a problem in general relating to the company operation? I think it could go either way. And I think you could probably ask for some clarification on the question about whether it was a problem that you caused or just a problem that you discovered. In this case, the wording of the question is it was a problem that you discovered in your job, how you identified it and how you handled it. I think from a tech industry point of view, this could really give me information about like how you do debugging. Like when something goes wrong or if something broke, how do you determine what broke, why it broke, what was the root cause? How are you going to handle that? How did you fix it so it's not going to happen again? And like the first thing that comes to my mind, for example, would be like test-driven development. Like if you end up with a bug in your code, how did that make it through the testing? How did that make it through the QA process? How did that make it through user testing and actually get deployed to production? Was it just an edge case, like you were asking for an email address and somebody put in a poop emoji and you just never considered that that was a possibility? And at the same time, when I taught at Turing, I would always tell students, like, don't try to write edge case tests for absolutely every scenario under the sun, or you will never stop writing tests and you'll never get around to actually writing the software. And so there is a practical limit of how much you can test for. And then once you do get a bug, then you go back and you write the test that covers that scenario, and then that'll never happen again. And so you could talk about that kind of scenario and just say, like, you know, we did our due diligence. We tested what we thought we could or what we had time to before we deployed. And then this bug came up. And so we discovered why it happened in the code. We wrote some tests. We saw that break the tests. And so we went in, we patched the code, we fixed it, and it passed, and now we've never had that problem again. Or it could be like, yeah, I got woken up at like 2 a.m, you know, somebody on call, or I was on call, and something broke, a system went down, and I had to go try and diagnose what happened. So here's the process that I followed. Here's how I discovered what went wrong. This is how I figured out how to fix it, or how we as a team could sort of take care of it. And try to prioritize it. Like, is this an emergency? Like I need to call other people and wake them up in order to fix it? Or is this something I can fix myself? Or is this just, I need to reboot or restart an instance? Or is this like, oh, the whole business is coming to a screeching halt because this went down? So like how you diagnose that and how you think about that is actually very telling in the job. So having a good scenario around that makes for a very good story, but I think as an entry-level dev, you're probably not going to have many answers for a question like that. If you're an intermediate dev, you might have an answer for it. If you're a senior dev, you probably definitely have a scenario that you could recall about that sort of thing. But if you're early in your career, it's going to be much harder for you to come up with those kinds of answers. And as we talked about with Lee last week on the stream, it's okay not to have an answer. My job as an interviewer is to find out what you know and what you don't know, and what sorts of scenarios you've faced and which ones you haven't, and then figure out whether that fits in with what I'm looking for on the team. And so if you don't have an answer, that's okay. Just be upfront, be honest about it, and say, you know, in a production sort of environment, I've never come across this so far. Or, you know what, I just got out of school and we never really had a scenario about this. So I'm a little bit curious what would go into that. I would hope that the company would have like a, you know, like a playbook or something like that to follow, where, you know, we can work through like some sort of diagnostic process. You know, if this broke, then it's maybe pointing to this, but if that works, but this part broke, then maybe it's pointing to that. A lot of companies will literally sit down and write out diagnostic playbooks for how things could potentially break and what to do in the scenario that those things break. And so if you don't have a good story to tell, then you can kind of turn that back on them. And hey, thanks for the follow, Van VIP. Appreciate it. You can certainly turn the question back on them and say, what kind of like playbooks or scenarios have you as a company had to deal with? Because I haven't had to do that myself. But like I say, as you kind of progress through your career, you're going to find those scenarios and you'll have stories to tell. Hey, thanks for watching. I love helping people out with interview prep, and I hope this video helped you in some way. If you found this Q&A useful, please consider subscribing. You can follow me on Twitch as well for the live stream twice a week. Check out techinterview.guide/streaming for more information. I also have a daily email series that you can subscribe to on the website. There are never any ads, and when you finish the series, I scrub your information out of my database permanently. Finally, if you have a question that you'd like answered on the stream, you can find my contact info on techinterview.guide. I prefer LinkedIn or email. If you leave your question in a YouTube comment, it might take me longer to find it, but I'll see you next time.